Good morning, and thank you for joining me on another episode of the Roundtable Talk Show. I am your host, Sharifa Hardy, and we are going to have some fun today. You know the show is always fun, but some shows are extra special. I was talking to these guests backstage. Oh, and we were cracking up. We were laughing so hard, I almost was running late. Y'all know I'm always running late. Even though I'm up at about 4 a.m., I'm always late. But before I go ahead and introduce today's guest, I'm going to ask you to do what I always ask you to do. And that is to get your recorders out, get your notepads out, get your questions ready, get your comments ready, because today is going to be an amazing show. So wake somebody up, go tell a friend, send a tweet, send a text, whatever you have to do, send that carrier pigeon. But if your friends miss out on the Roundtable Talk Show, who will they blame? I'm not saying to point fingers, but I'm just saying they won't know until you tell them. And I'm especially excited because the world has gone mad. And our guest has been on the Roundtable Talk Show, and he always helps me make some kind of sense of the madness, Mr. Bel Pokallus. Bel is a degreed accountant with a Vanderbilt MBA in finance and operations. From 1996 to 2004, he worked for a global Japanese manufacturing firm, Hilux, and cost sale price estimated 25% of all OEM push-pull cables. Production sold in the United States. From 2004 to 2007, he was the financial controller for the largest Bahamian exporter, while installing a system on Grand Cayman and Grand Bahamas. From 2008, he has built the corporation X-Vision. And each time he's on our show, he talks a little bit about X-Vision, but a lot about what's going on in the world. Good morning, Bel. How are you?
Good morning, Sharifa. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I greatly appreciate that. And here's today's quick book spin. The 30-second tour. The Byzantine pineapple. Wake up from the matrix. Byzantine means we're all criminals because there's so many laws on the books it's impossible for us not to be. Pineapple means that what's going on in the world is that those inside the pineapple wall are sucking the cash out through all the legislation. Using the CARES Act, for example, all those $1,200 checks cost about $200 billion at most, if even that. Where'd the other $2 trillion go? It went to those inside the pineapple wall. How do they do this? When you're asleep in the matrix, you believe all the things they send you every day, that the world is in crisis, that only our side can do anything, and you're either with us or you're against us. When you wake up from the matrix, you realize neither of these sides have a plan for anything for the future. There is no crisis. They've created an illusion of crisis. The solution is to pre-budget government. You fix the percents of each department of the tax dollars they get, and you can take care of healthcare, the living wage, and housing through one simple thing. The choice is yours. You want to continue to support a Byzantine system or a simplified system?
You know, I'm speechless, Bel. You left me speechless. Even I was not expecting that. I'm like, wow.
You want to have fun?
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. Okay, but what do I do, Bel? I'm stuck in my house. I've been stuck in this house since March. My birthday was the 30th of March last year. My birthday coming up this year, and I'm still stuck in this house, Bel. I understood everything you said, but I want to have some fun.
But why do you believe there's a crisis?
I don't believe it's a crisis. The crisis is, Bel, focus. I'm in this house. I want to be outside of the house. I want to go
outside.
Everything's closed. Everything's locked down.
Go for a walk in the neighborhood. Go do whatever you want outside.
I've done that for 365 days. The walk has not changed. It's the same dog that's on the same corner every time I walk, Bel. I've been waiting for this moment. I've been holding in for a long time. Okay. What am I
Well,
supposed
I
to
can
do?
tell you in Jacksonville, Florida, it's not that way. I'm back to playing full court basketball and going out and enjoying life the way I used to.
Thank you for that, Bill. Now I'm jealous. But Bill, I'm gonna come back to you. I'm gonna introduce my next guest, Mr. Teddy Height. Teddy is a marketing expert based in Chicago. Ooh, it's cold there, so I don't feel so bad. Given current times, Teddy's anti-agency freelance agency model has turned out to be almost pandemic proof. He is excited to come on the show to share his tips for business owners as we continue to manage COVID-19, as well as to share his thoughts regarding business pivots that may stick around post-pandemic. Good morning, Teddy. Do you have a presentation for me?
I was going to say, how do I follow that? I don't. I was hoping you wouldn't call my name next, and here we are. I don't have a presentation, but thank you, for having me. I'm excited to be here, and I already love the energy in the room. And to your point, yes, it is cold and gray in Chicago, so going for walks outdoors is not very fun. Although I try and do it as much as I can. But yes, I am based in Chicago. I am the CEO and founder of the Gauge Collective. We're about 4.5 years old. And we are a digital marketing anti-agency. So where this whole kind of concept came from is supporting small to medium-sized businesses on a wide array of digital marketing services, from social media management to email marketing and web design, but doing it in a way that is more affordable and more efficient. So our entire team is freelance-based. Everyone is a contractor, and every project that we work on with clients is custom built for them. So to your point on, the sort of the pandemic proof, as we, we're approaching lockdowns and things like that, I think as with any business owner, I panicked and was worried about the fate of our business, but we were really able to scale our size depending on client needs. So we had some clients pausing contracts, other clients coming to us for help with social media, because as we saw last year, everything went digital. So we sort of rolled up our sleeves and really helped a lot of businesses, whether they were grocery stores, retail, salons, to really pivot and create online experiences that actually helped them stay afloat, helped them drive revenue, and really set them up for success in 2021. So that's my world. I'm usually glued to my phone and some sort of social platform on my phone. But we love what we do. We love being creative, and we love supporting brands that are just starting and brands that have been around for a number of years.
Now, Teddy, I do 5 shows a week, 5 guests per show. I speak to a lot of people, and I start to see trends. Whenever I see marketing people, such as myself, we love the backdrops, we love the marketing, the message, I'm all about let's talk. And you're talking, I'm hearing you in the pandemic and the proof, and I'm looking at your background, and I'm like, okay, well, that's just a wall. And then I look and I see a space to reflect. And for me, whenever I have my marketing genius, as I call it, I need that moment where I could just think and just breathe. Is that the same for you?
Totally. And I think one of the things I learned for myself in the pandemic, and I think a lot of my team learned too, was actually stepping away from our devices helped us think more and creatively kind of think more, because we were tasked, and I think every business owner was tasked last year with actually getting creative and trying to figure out, how am I going to stay afloat? How am I going to, pivot my offering to some, different degree? So for me, it's really been about, simplifying the process, simplifying, the space around me, and really having that, space to reflect, if you will.
Yes.
So Teddy,
go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I have a great graphic designer, and we post and everything, but our algorithms, our numbers of actual impressions. So have you figured out the key to the algorithm mystery? Have you and your team figured that out?
What's interesting is now, to the point of crisis and chaos, as we, started the show with, I think we're competing with a lot of things now. Obviously the news is changing at such a rapid pace. There is so much happening in the world that oftentimes social media platforms are going to favor that, because that is what people are looking for. So no, there is no sort of magic antidote to that algorithm, process, and the constantly changing algorithm process. Because what I'm telling you now in a couple of weeks' time could be slightly different. So, we sort of have built a process where we work with clients to really strategically map out exactly how they're going to behave and show up in social media. So everything they do is intentional, it's authentic, and more often you start to see sort of a growth of that reach of those engagements when you're speaking from that authentic platform.
Yeah, I think authenticity is everything. Being
Yep.
real. Yeah. And because that's what speaks to us when we scroll through our Facebook accounts and our Instagram. Yeah.
Totally. For
Mhm.
sure.
Wow, I like this show. Usually people wait for the introduction. You come in here, you'll surprise me with the presentation. Amy, great question. I'm going to go ahead and introduce you then as the next guest, Miss Amy Weintraub. Amy is the founder of the Life Force Yoga Healing Institute. She's a pioneer in the field of yoga and mental health. She's the author of 2 nonfiction books, Yoga for Depression and Yoga Skills for Therapists, as well as numerous articles and book chapters. Good morning, Amy. How are you?
Good morning, Sharifa and everyone else. I am good, given the circumstances in which we wake up each morning, which are always different, right? So I have been known as the Yoga for Depression lady since early in the, like my book was published in 2004, Yoga for Depression, my first book. And Random House did that one. And the next book, Yoga Skills for Therapists, W.W. Norton. And so because of that, and I've done a lot of media projects and articles, but because of that, I'm being called upon now a lot to work with folks who are suffering from what I would disagree with Bill and call our crisis, our communal crisis that we're living through. But the real reason I'm here is because through my own yoga practice, through clearing my space and the help I give others to do so, I have written my first novel, Temple Dancer, which is partly set in India during the Raj, so it's partly historical and partly in New England with the protagonist who's a clinical social worker who was a fine artist, rolled up her canvases because of her mother-daughter relationship with her daughter and felt she wasn't the good enough mother. So Temple Dancer really evolves as a diary from a Devadasi, a temple dancer, and it's a psycho-spiritual novel, and it's gotten really good press, really good reviews on Amazon. So I'm very excited because I'm going to actually be offering a course on writing, integrating yogic skills like breathing practices, imagery, centering, along with character development writing exercises, scene development writing exercises. And that'll be on my website shortly, amyweintraub.com. And but most of the time, most of what I'm doing right now is doing a lot of remote relief for people. How to sort of manage the waves of our emotions and how do we stay happy? I mean, I'm with Bill. I love to be in the outdoors. I'm lucky enough to live in Tucson, Arizona, so I can hike and I can bike even now in the wintertime. I'm still a little chilly this morning, but it's a beautiful way to, if you can get outside in nature, if you can breathe, if you can find a reason to be grateful each morning, and if you can practice, anyone can practice. There's a yoga for everybody. And sometimes it's sitting in a chair. You don't even need a mat. There are practices that you can do to balance and lift your mood. So that's why I'm here, and I've probably taken up my 5 minutes. So
no, I'm watching. Believe me, I'm good at cutting people off. It's a skill, art form. No, that's amazing. I have so many questions for you, Amy, but let me introduce my next guest, and I got to make sure she's high energy. Her energy was a little low when we started, so let's see if she can get it up. Miss Tammy Johnston. Tammy is a financial advisor and business consultant with 28 years experience working with families, small business, and solopreneurs. Tammy teaches small business and runs group coaching mastermind sessions for small business owners and solopreneurs to help them keep themselves and their businesses on track and on task. You ready, Tammy? Good morning. How are you?
Well, I'm definitely not a morning person like you, Sharifa, because I work a lot of nights. So this is a completely different thing for me. And I'm Canadian. So Teddy's probably the only one here that understands it's cold. It is cold. They were saying on the news this morning that we're going to be getting into -30s for 2 weeks here soon. So I'm going, you guys are talking about going out and hiking and stuff like that. I'm going, I'm hibernating. I am staying in my home office, and it is a beautiful, beautiful place.
No, I'm just teasing. I loved your energy. I only tease people I like, by the way. So if I haven't teased you yet, okay, I'll get to you, Deb. Don't feel bad.
You and I are going to get along just fine. I'm so much like you with the teasing, and we are in interesting times, which I know everybody's saying all over. And a lot of people are getting depressed because, like you said, we're in lockdown, we're stuck at home. What's going on with our businesses? Like so many people that had very successful businesses, and then we have COVID come and it's shutting everything down. So people are getting depressed and they're losing their jobs, or they're going, I don't want to be doing this job anymore. So really good things that are coming out of this are people are learning that, okay, I don't have to be stuck with a job. I want to set up my own business. And there's so many great resources out there. But because there's so many great resources, it's just noise. They have no idea where to be going or where to start. And there's incredible specialists. I call them ologists. You've got your oncologist, your gynecologist, your podiatrist, all this, that are fabulous in one really small little area, which is wonderful. Social media in particular. But when you're going from an employee mindset and having to do everything on your own, you need somebody who has the experience and the overview to help you put it together, like a family doctor. The family doctor keeps everything going and asks the questions and maintains everything, and then they bring in the ologist should they be needed. So with me working with families and specializing in self-employed small business owners for close to 30 years now, I've discovered that yes, people need that help. Small business is what's going to change the world. All of our corporations, like Bill was saying earlier, all they're doing is bleeding money from the system. How do we take public money and put it into their private hands? All of your job growth is happening in small business. Your economic growth is happening in small business. But the stats are most small businesses don't make it. People are losing their life savings. They are losing their sense of self-worth, all of this, because they're being thrown to the wolves and they have no idea where to go. They're just being bounced around like a ball in a pinball machine. So where I've been putting my focus is, okay, what are the basics that are for across the board, regardless of what your product or service is that you're offering? And then how do you build a successful business around it? And then how do you run a personal life? Like I started my business, got pregnant, and ended up having to take 30 hours of mat leave because I didn't have an option. So how in the world do you juggle all of this stuff? And we were talking about like kids interrupting and pets and all of this. Well, how do you deal with that 24/7, 365 and still run a successful business and a happy functioning family? There are many ways of doing it, but you have to be working on it.
That was powerful. So how can you work on it? What are some of the ways? I'm on the edge of my seat.
Same.
Well, so some of the ways, like I'm big on reading, and you need to be working with a really good business coach. And like when you're more established, okay, you've got your basics and stuff figured out, then yes, okay, now I need to be working with a very specific marketing coach, or I have a client that just spent 3 months working with a messaging coach because of where they are. But most of the people that I work with, and I love getting them as early in the journey as possible because I can save them decades worth of time, money, and grief of learning it on their own. Where, okay, here's the steps, here's what you go through. And the accountability, that's a really big one because life gets in the way. There's always distractions, there's always people and demands coming at you. So how do you sort through that noise and actually be effective working on the right things and not just efficient, doing all sorts of stuff fastly and efficiently that probably shouldn't even be bothered to be done?
Absolutely. I'm going to come back to you, Tammy. I want to go ahead and introduce our next guest, Miss Deb Pokallus. Deb graduated with honors from Rutgers University and has been active in the fashion industry for over 25 years as a designer, consultant, and marketing and sales professional. Deb promoted the principles of ecological and fair trade fashion through advocacy and education, and assisted international designers build successful businesses with a strong ethical foundation. In 2014, she launched a natural and organic skincare business, Bel Essence, applying the same principles she promoted in her fashion career. Good morning, Deb. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. Thanks so much. That was nice.
That's you. That's you.
Well, I don't know who wrote that, but that was good. Yeah, my skincare business was really an accident. And I actually launched it in my 50s. So I'm here to say that to anybody out there who says, I'm too old, I can't do this, whatever. No, if it's something
There's
that
no way in the world you launched that in your 50s. You look amazing.
I just had a birthday. I just had a big birthday a few weeks ago, 60. So
Happy belated birthday.
yeah. So I started doing this as a personal thing, like my skincare, because I didn't like the way my skin looked when I turned 40. And I was looking for natural things, the things that I could buy in the grocery store that could help my skin. So I did a lot of research, and I spent well over a decade, over my little cauldron, boiling and mixing and everything. And I kept getting people asking me, what do you use on your skin? So I would hand out my formula, and everybody said to me, I don't want to make it, I want to buy it. So I figured, all right, I got an idea here. And so I launched it a few years ago, and we've grown, and we have very popular products. We have very loyal customers, and we make effective products. And I applied a lot of what I learned in my background in fashion, particularly ethical fashion, to my new business. And I've been doing the entrepreneurial thing for probably close to 40 years. And I even went through the Wharton Small Business Development Center and took, seminars and stuff. And in all the classes, the question came up, how do I find a business? What do I want my business to be? And the answer was always find a need and fill it, which gives you an idea on how to commercialize your idea. But I started when I looked into the ethical aspects of it, I flipped that. I said, all right, well, what if we looked at it where if we're fulfilling a need, then the purpose of business is to serve the community, not to serve itself. So if you look at how you serve your community, which is not just the community around you, but your customers, your vendors, your employees, and you operate in a way that serves them first, you will have a successful business. And unfortunately, nowadays, businesses have a different tact, and we actually end up serving them, whether we have to accept a job at a pay scale that a business determines, or accept their services and goods at the quality and cost that they decide. So that's kind of the approach that I'm taking, to make the products that I make worth the price that are paid for, that they're effective, and that we work with really good vendors, and that the people who do work for our company are treated as if they are partners in what we're doing, rather than just, okay, how can we get your services or what you supply really cheap?
That makes perfect sense. Now, I love when people make, because we only obviously have about 5 minutes, a long journey into something that seems so simple. I mean, you have this, your skin is glowing, obviously. And like Tammy said, I wouldn't have thought you were anywhere near your 50s. I would have put you in your mid 40s. But just because people started to buy it, there's a long process to actually start a business, especially when you're dealing with chemicals or the lack thereof in people's spaces. How was that process for you? How was the learning curve for that for you?
Well, like I said, when I started out, I wasn't intending to make this a business. So I had the luxury of spending a decade, you know, working on things. Okay, I don't like this isn't as effective on my skin. This ingredient is, so let me mix this in. So I had a little bit more luxury than somebody who's looking, oh, I want to start a business right now. But it is a process. There is a lot of work involved in developing any kind of concept, whether it's a good or service. And you need to put that time in, and you need to allow yourself, but you also, the other thing is your business is going to evolve. What the products that I started out with, I have added to, you know, people have told me, don't you dare change the very first product that I made, because they'll hunt me down. But however, as I learn more and I develop a better sense of things, then I can add to the collection different products that express that evolution, that learning curve. And it's the same thing with even with services. As you go along, there are certain, you know, businesses that offer a service. People may swear by that, but that doesn't mean that you can't add things that move you forward. And then also the other part of it that people tend to forget when they're starting their own business, that you as a person also evolve. So you have to allow that. You can't allow your business to, even if people like the products and want to, or your services, and don't want anything to change, you still change as a person, and it's got to reflect who you are when you start the business and who you're becoming as a person as well.
I think that's very powerful. Teddy, what were your thoughts on what Deb had to say?
I think, yeah, you know, it's the discussion around partnerships and looking at it more, not necessarily as serving, but as building a partnership is so true. And that like 100% resonated with me because, you know, the relationships that I'm building with clients, with contractors, with vendors, to me, it's more about establishing that trust and strengthening that bond because over time, you know, that relationship is just going to continue to grow, whether that's growing financially or growing, you know, emotionally, psychologically, however that may be. And our business, 90% of our business has been referral-based growth. So, you know, I come from a place of, if I'm doing amazing work with you and we're collaborating and we're vibing really well together, you've got a whole other network of people that can expose, you know, our services and our business to and help us grow. So for me, it's all about, you know, that relationship and really just working to build that relationship from day one.
I agree with you, Teddy. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Amy.
I was just going to say that every one of us here has talked about something that has been a passion for us. So, you know, what Deb just said was, you know, it was a passion to explore. And she spent 10 years in development exploring what would work for her. And I think each of us in our own way comes from that place of passion. And I agree with her too about service. I really feel that, I mean, before I even start working with someone or teaching a group or leading a workshop, I use a mudra that's an invite in all that I need to support the folks I'm working with, that it's about them. How can I serve them? How can I be a vessel to serve them? And I think, you know, if you come from that place of service and, as Teddy just said, of partnership, relationship, connectedness, it's then you're going to flourish. And you know, I know, you know, even though it's yoga, it was an online business. It's now become even more of an online business, and it is about those connections, those and coming from the place of your own heart, authenticity. So I agree with everything that's been said, even though we're in very different models of work and solo entrepreneurship. Yeah,
Absolutely. We just disagree on that whole crisis thing, Bill.
yeah.
Oh, it's okay.
I didn't forget about that.
Disagreements all over the place.
Well, disagreements
you know.
disagreements make it interesting. If everybody agreed, nothing would ever be questioned or challenged or grow. So we need to be doing that. But
Well, you can look at a crisis in a different way. You can call it a crisis, or you can call it, people use the term, oh, it's an opportunity. But in a way it is. Whenever there's an obstacle in your path, as frustrating as it is, when you come out the other side, you've learned, you've grown, you've succeeded, you've gotten stronger. So I don't like to oversimplify it, because, crises can be sometimes insurmountable, but it's a way to weather the storm. And one of the things I remember reading a long time ago about the businesses back in the 30s during the Great Depression, the businesses that did the best after the Depression were the ones who weathered the Depression itself.
Yep.
And they had the greatest staying power. So as bad as things may seem to be, if we can figure out our own pathway through this, we can end up coming out stronger and with a longer lifespan.
Oh,
Absolutely.
completely agree.
Absolutely. They've shown that more millionaires are made during a recession than any other time. And I agree with that, and I believe that, but I also know myself in that I'll do more when I'm uncomfortable than when I'm comfortable. Because when I'm comfortable, I just want to go along with the ride. I was laid off 8 times. I tell people before I was laid off for the very first time, I thought my debit card was magic. Like it was just magic. I was just swipe. You know what I mean? I was going into the store. I like that shirt. Swipe. You know what I mean? It was like this, but I wasn't rich per se, but I could buy a shirt or some gas without having to check my bank balance, But then after being laid off, it was like, okay, do I want to eat or do I want to pay the cell phone bill?
Right.
Or do I want to put gas? Oh, wait, got to pay the cable bill, So it's like those are the things that move you. Is that what you were saying, Bill? I'm trying to put it in a nice bow.
With respect to the terms of crisis, is that the context in which you
I don't know. I just want some more of your genius.
First, I want to go back to your original question you asked me in the very beginning about getting out. Okay, the thing I always talk to people about is, and I know this from personal experience because I was a pretty miserable teenager. Someone said to me, Bill, you can tell me all the things that make you miserable. Tell me what'll make you happy. And I had an answer for them. And that's when I realized I would never be happy unless I knew what would make me happy. So I understand that you're frustrated and unhappy with the way things are, where you're living right now and whatnot. But what is it that'll make you happy? See, because if you can't achieve what'll make you happy, well, you're going to be waking up every day unhappy and spending days unhappy. And that's an awful way to go through life.
I want to come visit you, Bill. I want to hop on the plane and sit down and stare at whatever. You put up something new. I haven't even seen this. What is this? I want to see it in person. I'm tired of the Zoom, Bill. What is this?
This is upcoming. This is the Salvador Dali Cipher. And this goes back to our last conversation on the last panel. This is the mock-up. And you asked me about character development the last time.
Right.
So I always say, what is the purpose? What is your purpose in doing things? And I say this to authors. What are you trying to create? So the Salvador Dali Cipher combines the TV show Charmed with the Da Vinci Code using the works of Dali.
Ooh, I like those.
And so, well, what do I need for the characters? What is my purpose? And it's intended to be a mostly parody, a dramedy, with some other social commentary in there. But I have to parody and have the characters of the 3 girls from Charmed. Mm-hmm. So on Charmed, you have Prue, who was the oldest sister. So we'll make her Plued, okay? And she has to have her powers. She's the mentalist. They have Piper on the TV show. Well, Piper becomes Piper's wife. Piper's wife is an archaic term from England back in the days of the touring carnivals, where if a guy wants to have a good time, go see the Piper's wife. Okay.
I learned something new every day.
Phoebe, who was the empath on the show, well, she's going to be an empath, but she's feel me. Efeelmi. Okay. Okay, and they have their hookups on the show. Well, actually, Prue didn't have. She was always pining for someone. Okay, so she has a hookup with the demon Dodil. He's one of the repeating characters. Okay, because you're not going to get men and women globally to enjoy the things if you don't have the relationships and have romance, soap opera, spice, and steam. Okay, so you got to build these things in. That's the purpose. Okay, Piper on the TV show has hook up with Leo. They get married and have kids. Well, Leo has to be Leonardo da Vinci reincarnated. Okay, and he's the one who oversees them. And then last on the TV show, Phoebe had a hookup with the guy Cole, C-O-L-E, Cole Turner, who was the demon Balthazar. So, well, I need to do something with Cole. What do we have a Cole that would be fun? Oh, Cole is a German name, K-O-H-L. Let's make him a black male, Blockus Cole, Detective Blockus Cole, and instead of Balthazar, he's all bizarre, which allows me to run him as Al at some point, which will tie into some other humor. Okay, so the characters are defined by what is the purpose of the story and what is the action that occurs. The first.
Okay, Bill, I have a question. I have a question for you, because next time I want you to come back for a fourth time, and the next time I need a Sharifa character. I'm serious. Why is everyone laughing? I want to be famous, Bill.
We're not laughing.
We're laughing. We're like with you.
But
Bill,
so a lot of characters are designed and come from what is the purpose of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
I
another
like it.
example from what's coming up in this is in the Dali Museum in Tampa. There's a car there. Dali used cards where he has it raining on the inside of the car, and there's a mermaid in the back, and someone in front. So I got to do something with the mermaid, because in the TV show there's a famous 2-part episode where Phoebe becomes a mermaid. Well, she gets in the car ends up flying out of the building through a bunch of things that happens. And why is this all going on? Well, I found something called a Goblin Shark, which is a hideous looking creature. It's the craziest looking. If you ever look up a picture of a Goblin Shark, let me use the Goblin Shark, but I got to create him as a character, but I'm doing a parody of things. Well, who's the Goblin? Well, the Goblin is in Spider-Man, the Green Goblin. Okay, so
we got a lot of characters.
Goblin.
We have so many different characters going on. What do we need to bring this to market? Because I want to go see. I can't go to the movie theater, Bill.
I understand that.
Everything's being streamed directly now.
I want to go out. I want to be amongst the people. I want to shake hands. I want to kiss babies.
So do I. I had a book tour lined up to go out in 2020, to go out and meet another 100 locations, and that all got canceled on me. So
I did too. It's really hard to launch a book during COVID. And can I just speak to your approach to character, which is different than mine?
Oh, go right ahead. Everyone's
okay. Because for me, it's the characters that speak through me, and I don't start with a premise like attempting to allow a character to represent an idea. The ideas come after the fact of listening to the voices of my characters, letting them, when I'm really in the zone, when I'm really tuned in, I am writing from a place of listening. And it's sort of the collective unconscious. And then it's like, oh, the characters, when I'm really in the zone, the characters are telling me the story. And it's so interesting because after I finished, so many people have said to me, this is about the repression of female sexuality in the patriarchy, both in India and in the West. And it was not something that was an idea like, I'm going to be polemic here and show the repression of sacred female sexuality from the patriarchy. That wasn't my intent, but the characters spoke through me and seemed to tell that story. That seemed to be the theme. And, so that seems to be what all the reviewers are focusing on, as well as, the characters and the story. So it's a different approach. It's a character-driven approach. as opposed to an idea-driven approach, and then the ideas come through the character. So that's, I think we're creating fiction and out of our imaginations, but we're doing it differently. Would you say so, Bill?
It sounds like it to me. I have a purpose on all my things that I create and do. What is my purpose? So I do what is necessary to meet the purpose. But I will keep an eye out to write Sharifa.
Let's get back to Sharifa. Okay.
That's a good, but that's a good superhero name, Sharifa, I think.
Thank you. I agree. I need to see it somewhere.
It's Sharifa and Shazam.
Yeah, exactly.
Shazam?
Shazam.
I like that. I like that. So, Bill, what we need? Another 500 million to get this out here?
The text is being written, and in fact, the January monthly story on the Poji.biz website goes through the entrance to the Dali Museum in Spain. And that's the part I'm currently writing. That's the second third of the major text construct. And then the last section will be the National Gallery in DC, where the Dali, it's huge, the Dali painting of the Last Supper, a la the Da Vinci Code Last Supper, is at. And so then there's a huge signature scene in the climax at the Dali Museum, at the National Gallery in DC.
So, Bill, when I run for Senate, are you going to come stand next to me because you're a politician? The question on the table was, how much money do we need to get me to be a superhero?
What kind of superhero do you want to be, Sharifa?
That's right. What are your superpowers?
So that kind of defines things.
$500,000 for Bill. $500 million. I'm sorry, $500 million for Bill.
Yeah,
I'm a superhero. I bring people to life. I bring people to life. That's gonna be my superpower. It's gonna be right here. I bring people to life.
I'm thinking with $500 million, you're the Black Batwoman.
Yes. Yes. Let's not talk about that. Yes. Okay. Thank you, Tammy. I am your new client, by the way. How are we gonna get all this out of here? How are we gonna market and advertise this, Teddy?
Well, we have to talk to Tammy.
Yeah.
Eddie's our guy.
You know, I always push people starting a new project or continuing with a project. Social media is great. It's inexpensive, and it offers you sort of the freedom and flexibility to build your messaging in whatever way you want. And I kind of related to the discussion around like how character building and storytelling oftentimes is subjective, and people can take away different messaging from it. The same can be true and said of an Instagram post, of a Facebook. I mean, people can read into things in a way that maybe you didn't necessarily mean, but actually benefits your business, what you're trying to say. And so I think, leveraging social, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Instagram, whether it's, we're dusting off TikTok and trying to figure it out together, it's a great space to play in because it's inexpensive and it's easy to learn, and it's easy to learn what works and what doesn't work and make changes as you go.
I have a question for you, Teddy.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Everybody, you can read 25 different views on how to manage social media, but like the basic things of, how often do you post, and what are the best ways to promote a business? Do you talk about things peripheral to the business on a regular basis, or is it better to just focus on the goods and services that you're offering?
Yeah, I think, I get that question a lot. Should I be posting every day? Should I be posting twice a day? The answer is yes and no. The answer is truly, the answer is truly, and I think to your second question, I'll start there. It's from experience, creating a well-rounded approach is what you want. Social media was originally designed to build community, and I think a lot of businesses and a lot of business owners have forgotten that. And so they turn to it as simply a one-lane road where they are projecting their sales message, they're pushing their key messages, and they're forgetting that, an Instagram or a Twitter or a Facebook, they were all designed to generate conversation, to connect you to other people. And so I think building a strategy, building a plan that is both speaking to what you're selling and the goods you're offering and educating your audience there, but also too is doing things to build community. It's doing a virtual virtual webinar where they can sort of learn, let's say, how to use a new skincare product that you're carrying, or learn how to do a 5-minute yoga and meditation to start their day. So really creating those like touch points that it's going to give them something more than just buy. And second to that, my advice to everyone I speak to, which I think goes against what a lot of people say, is if you have a message that has integrity to it, it has intention, and there's a goal attached to it, post it. If you don't have that message, do not force yourself to meet a certain quantity on a weekly basis, because what's going to happen is you're going to turn people off, because people are going to start to see, okay, they're trying to meet a certain number, or like this post did not resonate, but this one did. The more intentional you can be, the further you're going to take things versus trying to meet, you know, a 5 post a week type of goal, which is maddening. You know, it can be maddening, especially when we were talking about life gets in the way. Like life gets in the way and it's hard to kind of post regularly. So it's worthwhile to really think about like, what are your goals, and what are your goals in like using social media and building community?
I think that was an excellent answer, Teddy. That means you know what you're talking about. You know your stuff. Yeah. Because as a business consultant, what I always say is post when you have something to say. That's my rule of thumb. Post when you have something to say. And then people go, well, I don't have anything to say. That's interesting. And then I always say, okay, so what you're telling me is you don't have anything interesting about your business. So if you're not interested in your business, how do you expect anyone else to be interested in your business? So I'm just like Teddy, you know, it doesn't have to be a certain amount of time, but you should do what you love and the money should follow. And so if you love your business and you're passionate about your business, you at least 3 or 4 times a week, you should be able to find something to say about your business that has a goal that will return revenue. That's my rule of thumb.
Yeah, and I think, you know, to Amy's point, I think, you know, she popped in my head as I was talking, I think, you know, we're so overwhelmed, we're so stressed with just the constant sort of flow of news, of media, of everything. And so now it's, you know, whereas before the pandemic, let's say, it was a little easier to kind of cut through the clutter and build that relationship and have a relationship. But now, you know, we're trapped at home. A lot of us are depressed. A lot of us, you know, mentally we're somewhere else. And so it's worth considering now too, like, how do I, again, approach it from a community driven standpoint or a relationship building standpoint versus just sales? Because so much of our lives are spent on our phone, you know, doom scrolling, as it's been coined, which is just you're scrolling and everything is making you miserable. So, you know, if you think about it too, from that standpoint, it might help creatively get you out of the box to really like build that community and build those relationships.
Yes, I think Tammy was going to say something.
Yeah, one of the common things that I find with people when they're saying, I don't know what to say in that, is we forget all the stuff that we know because we're living our expertise and stuff all the time. So we're going, it's as simple as breathing. Like, how can that be important? But when you start talking to people who don't do what you do and understand all of that, then they start going, well, that's fascinating and that's interesting. And then we start to realize how much that we know and how much we have to offer. But especially now, because we're so isolated and we're working in we're not having the same interactions, that we forget all of that we know and that other people will find it interesting just because we've been doing it for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. So it's like second hat to us. Doesn't mean that thousands, if not millions of other people won't be interested and able to learn from us if we're able to get out of the noise in our own head and put it out there.
Absolutely. And what I think a lot of people don't look at is if you search for anything online, if you go to Google, you search for anything, it doesn't matter what it is. Usually the #1 site that comes up is Wiki. And there's a reason for that. It's because people want information. They want knowledge. And so if you can be the go-to person, like Tammy was saying, in your industry, it may not be that particular post, that one post that brings you all these sales. But if they can go to your social media and say, Amy always talks about this. If I want to learn about yoga, or if I want to learn about how to use yoga to get rid of anxiety or depression, I can go to her social media and she has information, resources, knowledge that she has shared that I can share with other people. So I always try to keep that in mind when posting, give information and knowledge. Interesting point. Amy, what are your thoughts?
Now that you mention it, I'm thinking in all the searches that I do, you're right. That's what comes up whenever you're looking to find out information. That's the first site that does come up.
Knowledge is power. Amy?
Yeah, I think, you know, do a lot of free practices that are like on my YouTube channel that are short, 2 to 8 minutes. And they get much more traction than, say, when my passion, which is talking about my novel, but people want to be brought back into balance. They want to have a day that's balanced despite the doom scrolling that we were talking about. So when I post, I try to give a balance between here's a technique, here are 15 ways, like over 15 days to allow more creativity to flow by using these practices, to breathing practices, etc. And those are the ones that seem to, people want practices. Anyway, the people that are interested in mind body want practices to help them navigate, whether we call it a crisis or whatever we're going through now, the pandemic and the politics. We need help. And if we can offer that and from our own fields in a way that makes people feel connected and heard and acknowledged through webinars, Zoom meetings like this, that's a service. And I think that brings more interest in social media. But I also, I take pictures when I'm out on my bike, and I'm looking at the beautiful mountain scenery and the cactus that are like temples, these old cactus. If I take a picture of that, that's where I get the most posts and most likes or responses. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I've enjoyed this conversation. Now we are coming down to the last few minutes of the show. And what I love to do at the end of every show is just simply allow my guests the opportunity to speak directly to the audience, to everyone who's watching this show live, as well as everyone who is watching it in the archives, and let them know what you want them to take away from your appearance here today. And we're going to start with you, Tammy.
Well, thank you very much. I'm a weirdo because I actually really like recessions, because recessions are when we sort out the people who actually are doing a business, have a passion, are willing to do the work, and they're the ones that come out of it stronger and better. When things are booming, any idiot can hang up a shingle and say they do whatever, and they can make money because it's booming. But when we start hitting these difficult times, like what we're doing now, people are going to come out of this stronger and better if they're willing to do the work. And another advantage that we have with us being locked down at home and everything's being online, I am so happy to have met everybody online here today. And what are the chances we would have physically met face to face? We're all over North America, but because of everything's online now, I've been able to meet people like you, great people. So it's, how do you find the good stuff? And are you willing to do the work, not just on your business, but what Deb said earlier, also on yourself? Who are you going to be coming out of this? Are you going to be better or not? And it's totally and completely your choice. What are you willing to do?
You know why? Because you are the artist of your own life. Exactly. I just wanted to throw that in there. Deb, what do you have for us?
Me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, to what Tammy said as well, I think one of the, maybe not, I don't want to say good things, but it is a good thing that came out of this whole quarantine is that it has allowed us to focus our lives. A lot of the noise that we got caught up in before the quarantine has shown us, and being separated has certainly caused us a lot of stress, but it's shown us what is important. The connections that we had before that may have been just about the place we went to are now more about connecting as human beings and our own wellness and our own weeding out what is not effective in our life to bring us to a place of balance, wellness, and health and happiness. And so it can be a good takeaway for everybody to focus on the things in your life that really matter. During this whole time of being separated from family, I spent a lot of time reminiscing about when I was a kid. And the things that I remember so fondly were not the presents I got for Christmas, even though they were my favorite toys, but it was the time I spent with my family and that connection to family members. And so going forward, that's what I'm going to seek out, because that's what made me happy. And I think that's something that we can all, going forward, look at more closely.
You're about to make me cry, Deb. Now I remember holidays at home with grandma and everything. I love it. Amy, what do you have for us?
Well, I love what both Tammy and Deb said so far. It's really about this time, this opportunity of this time is really to connect. I am in what we call sanghas, or communities, talking once a week with my friends in Australia who I didn't connect with. I mean, we emailed now and then, but we're on Zoom together. We're connecting. We're growing in love and helping each other grow. I'm on Zoom with friends in India. So it's a time where we're making special efforts to reach out. And I think if you're not making a special effort to reach out, I would encourage, I know all of you are, but I would encourage your listeners, reach out to someone today, maybe an elderly relative who's been alone. Reach out. It's not just for them, it's going to make you feel better. And staying connected. And I'd love to stay connected with all of you and with anyone who's listening, through my website, amyweintraub.com, and the YouTube channel, which has got lots of practices on it, Amy Weintraub Author. And so there are lots of ways, and classes and webinars. And so I want to stay connected with as many of you as possible, because when we strip away the differences, I mean, even Bill and I had our differences about the way we write. At heart, we are deeply and intimately connected with the whole, the oneness that surrounds us. So
Absolutely.
I'm just going to say namaste to all of you, which means I
Namaste.
see the light
Namaste.
in your eyes.
Namaste, Amy. Bill, are you connected? You connected?
Yes, I am. And I quickly, to explain why I think there's no crisis, every day since March 18, I have downloaded the data from the Johns Hopkins website at 8 a.m. of the death numbers and compared it to other data. 8,000 people die in the US every day. According to the CDC, no more people died in 2020 in the USA than in 2019. In January, for the month of January, the USA has 24.3% of all global COVID deaths. Okay, so 1 out of 4 people dying are supposedly in the USA with this great medical system. Okay, it makes no sense. Okay, so what's going on? Byzantine pineapple. They're creating crisis so they can loot the treasury.
You have to come back for sure.
Oh, I love you, Sharifa. I'm always coming back.
I love me some Bill. Thank you. Teddy, take us out, Teddy.
Well, yeah, I think, speaking to the connection and the conversations and the relationship building, the thing that I've learned this past year in terms of operating my business and working with clients and working with my team is leading with a sense of curiosity. And I would challenge business owners, in 2021 to lead with curiosity. Look back at your year. What got you through that year? What allowed you to connect deeper with your vendors, with your clients, with your partners, with people in your personal life? Explore that, and then take those learnings and really thrive in 2021. I think I agree with everyone when I say we're on the cusp of sort of like, the roaring 20s again. They're coming back. And now is the time to really take all those tools that you learned by surviving through a recession, through a pandemic, and using those and using the insights there to just allow yourself to grow and thrive both professionally and personally.
I think that is wonderful. I want to thank you all for being guests on today's episode of the Roundtable Talk Show. I truly enjoyed it. And I especially want to thank everyone who tuned in to watch this show live, as well as everyone who is watching it in the archives. We definitely appreciate your support. You know I do. I support you tuning in. I thank you for your support, for tuning in, for watching the show, for sharing the show. But I always ask for a little bit more. I need a little bit more. When you go to church, this is that day when they say dig deeper into your pocket. So today, I want you to share harder than you ever shared before, because we had such a wonderful show, and I want you to share it with your friends. And as always, please don't just watch the show. Don't just share the show. Support our guests. Visit their websites. Their links are in the Facebook post. Send them a message. Send them a tweet. And when you connect with them, please let them know Sharifa Hardy says hi. Now, if you're interested in more ways that I can help your business, or maybe you want to be a guest on the Roundtable Talk Show, please visit my website at asksharifa.com. Until tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Pacific, everyone have a safe and a blessed day. Bye now.